In China, poverty eradication and rural revitalization have transformed the lives of community. Rural families are improving their incomes, jobs are being created, and minority cultures are being preserved. Our correspondent Bruno Falci brings us this report from Rongyang, one of the regions that suffer most from this scourge.
In the village of Zaidang, in Rongyang, southwest China, a mountainous and difficult to access region, poverty eradication and rural revitalization programs have transformed the lives of its inhabitants. Infrastructure has been modernized, jobs have been created, and incomes have increased. Lu Bingley, a community leader, explains how the policies of the Chinese Communist Party have improved the lives of the population and strengthened the community cohesion and culture.
During
the poverty alleviation period, the government has improved local infrastructure, fire suppression, drinking water, electricity, and roads has all been modernized. Before there were only dirt roads, now there are paved roads, water, and electricity. There are small shops and modernized access roads. The infrastructure has been completed to support the fight against poverty. More attention has also been paid to ethnic culture. Every year, the government organizes ethnic cultural activities. For example, the Chun Chao. Before it became famous, our village was little known, but after the festival's rise in popularity, our village also became well known.
Rural revitalization has improved the economy and strengthened the cultural identity of Dong and Miao minorities. The government promotes activities and festivals to attract tourists, generate jobs, and help preserve traditions. These programs demonstrate how economic development and cultural preservation can go hand in hand, strengthening social cohesion and local pride. The Great Dong chant, with nearly 2,500 years of history, continues to thrive in the community. Guizhou province, where Rongyang County is located, received over $100 billion in government investment in less than a decade. In Sambaidong village, a group of women organized themselves to keep their culture alive, taking advantage of the influx of tourists to improve access. Yan is one of them, and she told us that according to local tradition, food satisfies hunger and music gladdens the heart.
真正性呢，就是我们的老百姓的收入得到提高了。
After rural revitalization, our people's incomes have increased. Once our income improved, we think about the spiritual realm, about happiness, about well-being, and thus we have the energy to continue transmitting our culture and our spirit. Before, our lives weren't so good, and we were busy working and earning money. There wasn't much time to preserve our culture. But now, thanks to rural revitalization and the increase in our incomes, we can dedicate more attention to keeping our cultural traditions alive.
Rongyang has become an international example of how a strong state intervening in the economy can drive structural and lasting change. With China lifting 100 million people out of extreme poverty and achieving its eradication by 2020. Its program has become a model for the entire global South. Bruno Falci, Rongyang, China, for teleSUR.
Hello, join us as we go live to Venezuela with the first national meeting of the PSCV Secretariat for Parliamentary Affairs. Let's listen. And he said to us, the greatest strength is unity, and that you need to be unified with the best team that history has ever had. That is the team that is leading the Bolivarian Revolution. Delcy Rodriguez, Jorge Rodriguez, Diosdado Cabello, and all the highest command of the Bolivarian forces. Hector Padrino. We went through a situation, very complex situation. We're going through it. It is not done yet. We are going through it. And here is when you say that doubting is a traitor, greatest trust in the leadership, maximum trust in national unity. It doesn't matter what they say, whatever they do, what the news say, there's always a piece of it that is lie, there is always a falsehood. We need to be united in the face of rumors. That's the greatest strength of the Bolivarian Revolution.
On January 3rd, and I have said it in different spaces, anything that you might imagine could have happened, anything. The people stayed at peace and without militarizing Caracas or the country, and we could have done that. We could have militarized it because of the military aggression, and it didn't happen, and the people maintained peace. The armed forces, despite the aggression, anything could have happened that you can imagine, but it didn't happen because Chavez showed a conscience. And there we have the unity of the people with a collective conscience, and the armed forces with a collective conscience as well of the political and historical moment. And we, with humbleness, to say that the only guarantee of peace, of progress and development is called the Bolivarian Revolution in the power at the national level, in the presidency of the Republic, in the National Assembly, in the majority of the states, in the majority of the legislative councils and the municipal councils. And it touches the three lines that I have allowed myself to say. Firstly, peace. The unity to maintain peace, the men of peace. And let's not forget that he guaranteed being there, the peace that we have today in Venezuela. He is our biggest protector. Even being there, he is the biggest shield of peace that the country has to avoid war and aggression. His life also, and the life of Celia, are our biggest shield and our biggest protection, and we here have to guarantee it with love, with dialogue. Venezuela is not a people of war. Venezuela has not and will never arm itself to assault any country. It has never gone through our minds, or I ask to this legislative body, has that idea gone through our mind? We are a country of peace. We are a country of peace, always, the only time, and for not to be forgotten by South America. And the peoples of South America don't forget the only time that the Venezuelan armies went out of our borders was to give the independence to 5 countries that owe their independence to the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, to Simón Bolívar, Antonio José de Sucre, and the blood of millions of Venezuelans that was shed in Boyacá, Ayacucho, and Junín. Millions of Venezuelans died for independence to happen. And today, our vocation of peace and of dialogue and of respect to international law is what makes us the light to continue on the path of dialogue, and what the acting president has said. Let's not fear dialogue with anyone. The diplomacy of peace. Diplomacy, always diplomacy. Never again bombs or missiles. Let's maintain peace, the internal order, and whoever wants to destabilize, here we have a law. We are approving the law of amnesty by the initiative of the president with all of the support and with both hands. We will approve the amnesty law in the National Assembly for the reconciliation, as Chavez taught us, and Jesus Christ taught us, as we were taught by Maduro, the men of dialogue and peace. Of course, we're going to approve the amnesty law to give forgiveness. Yesterday, Jorge said it from the National Assembly. We ask for forgiveness if we have made mistakes, because we have surely made mistakes. I would like to listen the forgiveness and of the other parts that have also made mistakes and that are also co-responsible of what had happened here on January 3rd. I wish in the name of God we can listen to forgive and to forgive ourselves, to move forward in a peace and maintain the peace and the order and democracy and the freedom of our country, and an amnesty law that is not only for them but also for us. In the second place, unity for the country to move forward. It is our task, and I was saying at the beginning that for Venezuela not to stop, to move forward in the politics in honor of Nicolas and Celia, in honor of those who fell on January 3rd, and all that we have suffered. The country must move forward, and our victory is in building a Venezuela that is a world power and recovering the buying power of the Venezuelans, because only we will recover it. Is recovering the industrialization of the country, the petroleum of the country, is deepening the democracy and the popular power and the communes. It is closing the gap of inequalities. It is increasing education, improving health, and we in the legislative bodies have great tools to deepen the democracy, to deepen the resources, and to give more power to the popular power. The country must move forward. It must not stop. And in the third place, to maintain all every day as members of the revolution, every day an action to speak with someone if, while getting a haircut, or in the hair salon, when they take the children to the schools, a daily action to feed the spirit of organization for the return of Nicolas and Celia. They are serene. I had mentioned it to some companions that were with me when we were coming here. First, because of their faith in God, God has a purpose for them. That is why He left them alive, because what happened was God left them alive with a purpose, a sacred purpose. They have a lot of faith in God, and the president has said he is an expert in the Old Testament. They took him a Bible and he has read it very much. It is a man of Christ. I cannot say more because he said something else, but when that becomes concrete, I will tell you. But it is something very beautiful that the president is going to do with Celia. I cannot say any more. The second, in the second place, the trust in the people, the trust in the Venezuelan people. The first message that we received and the last one that we have received till today has been maximum trust in the people of Bolivar and Chavez. That is the people of the miracles, that is the people of the difficulties, and I trust truly always together with the people. He told me, always together with the people, and third, the tranquility of spirit, soul, and conscience of not committing any crimes and being free of sins, for the only sin to be to sacrifice and consume itself for the happiness of the people. And the last thing, let's not let them make us bitter. Let's not let them to take our joy away. No one can take away the joy from us. We are a joyful people. We are a happy people. We are the people that is moving forward, turning this love in organization to accomplish for the homeland to be in peace, and moving forward to the glorious path and the return of Nicolas and Celia. Long live the homeland and the Bolivarian revolution and the people of Venezuela. Thank you very much.
We were listening at this hour refer to Deputy Nicolás Maduro Guerra, son of President Nicolás Maduro Moros, who highlighted in this space, which is the first national meeting of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela's PSUV Secretariat for Parliamentary Affairs. In his speech, he referred to a message sent by President Nicolás Maduro from the illegal imprisonment he is subjected to in the United States, and that message was a message of love, a message of hope and faith as well, and he made a call for maximum trust. Let's listen. And faith as well, and he made a call for maximum trust. Let's listen. And faith.
The activity continues. We still have three or four participations that are precise. It has been a very good day, but the companion Captain Diosdado Cabello, General Secretary of our Socialist United Party of Venezuela, has sent a message, and I want to please those who are here present today, as we have done all day, taking notes of the orientations, of the reflections, for us to please be able to listen this message that was sent to us by our Secretary General of the party, Captain Diosdado Cabellos, and for you to know that is the Chief of the Bloc of the Homeland in the National Assembly, in the legislative councils, and also in the municipal chambers. Let's listen to Captain Diosdado Cabello. Well, how are you? Greetings to all the deputies, legislators, councilors, men and women of this homeland. Greetings with affection and respect to all doing that type of activities. Pedro, I congratulate for the initiative of reuniting all of us. It is very important that our country is maintaining the unity, the organic unity, and it is not only being united as a party, as the parliament, it is the unity in three fundamental lines that the companion Delcy has instructed us, that is the liberation and the return of President Maduro and Celia, and the stability and the internal security of the country, the peace of our country, and the other is the economical stability with a sustainable development that is equal, with no inequalities. We have lived very hard moments, and I want to give a recognition to you, and I ask of you, these are the moments in which I ask but on the other side I demand, these are the moments in which unity must prevail, the revolutionary discipline. This is an organized party, and the Great Patriotic Pole is a movement that is organized in discipline and knows what they have to do, and they have been doing so. The little groups, the personality, this is mine. There's no space for that in the situation in which we are living. To the country, maximum unity, and I truly recognize the effort that has been done in all of the national territory for maintaining that indispensable unity, but I also ask you, the revolutionaries always have to give more, and from there is the collective lines for the laws, for all of the territorial ordaining of our country. A big hug to all, and remember that with Bolivar, with Chavez, with Nicolas, in any circumstance and no matter what happens, we will win. A hug and take care of yourselves.
Of Secretary General of the PSUV of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, through a telephone message, he referred to this plenary session of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. He was referring to the need for Venezuela to remain united, for the collective work in this task, this common task of Venezuelans of making the country move forward. This is what is happening at this hour from the Teresa Carreño Theater in this first meeting of the national meeting of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, in which we were listening to statements of Deputy Nicolás Maduro Guerra, that he was referring to a message of hope that was sent by President Nicolás Maduro himself at this moment from the illegal imprisonment he's being subjected to, along with the first combatant and deputy Cilia Flores. This was a message of hope and faith, Nicolás Maduro Guerra said, and also was a call for the country to remain united, to trust in the people of Bolivar, to trust in the people of Chavez, to trust as well in the guidance of the Bolivarian government headed by acting President Delcy Rodriguez. Unity, that's the call for this moment. Stay tuned with teleSUR English for more. We are live at this hour, seeing live images from Venezuela. We can see the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, Deputy as well, Jorge Arreaza, are meeting at this moment with members of the community, with families of detainees in the zone of Boleita in Caracas. Do you know Jorge Arreaza? He's the president of the commission that is drafting the amnesty law. We are going to tell you here what we are doing. We approved the law yesterday. And afterwards, on Tuesday, we're going to have the second discussion to approve it unanimously and definitively. That very same day, all of your family members who are detained are going to be released. This is the statements at this moment. People, family members of political prisoners are having a meeting with the highest authorities of the nation, in this case with the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez. They are asking about when they are going to be released. The President of the National Assembly assured that this is going to be a decisive step forward, the national reconciliation. This is an important moment. Let's listen to the statements. All of them are going to be released before the upcoming Friday. That was the statement at this hour of the President of the National Assembly, who keeps saluting, reading members, family members of all of those detained in the zone of Boleita. In the framework as well of the first discussion of the amnesty law that was proposed by acting President Delcy Rodriguez and that was approved in the first discussion during the last plenary session of the National Assembly held on Thursday, February 5th. This is an important moment for Venezuela because this decision, this law, is going to mark and pave the way for the national reconciliation, to heal the wounds left as well by the January 3rd attack. Let's listen. He has been in prison for 1 year. Well, he has diabetes. These statements of these are statements from family members. He is the director of the cabinet of the National Assembly. He's going to be taking care of your father. Don't worry. You need to relax. Also, there is a kid with special needs, with deficit of attention, that is also imprisoned with just 19 years old. Let's do something. Give me a list of the names of your family members that are in here, in prison here. There are 43 names in that list. We are going to, let's gather all of their names. All of their names. Thank you very much. We'll meet next Monday. Greetings. This is an emotional moment. If you are joining us in this broadcast from teleSUR English, you can see live images of the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, also Deputy Jorge Arraza, who were at this moment meeting with family members of inmates in the Boleita Center in the capital, Caracas, in the context of the approval of the amnesty law on the first discussion during the latest session of the National Assembly held on Thursday, February 5th. This is as well in the context as the country is centering its efforts for the national reconciliation with this initiative of the amnesty law proposed by Acting President Delcy Rodriguez. This is all for the moment. Stay tuned with teleSUR English for more information on this key topic for Venezuelans. In other information, talks on nuclear issues between Iran and the United States concluded on Friday in Muscat, the capital of Oman. After the dialogue, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated that there appears to be consensus on continuing the negotiations, a decision that will be announced by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Oman when the delegations consult with the respective countries. In addition, the Iranian top diplomat emphasized that the talks focused solidly on the nuclear issue and stated that Iran conveyed its positions and concerns on the matter in a positive atmosphere. Let's recall that Iran had held 5 rounds of talks on a replacement for the 2015 nuclear deal prior to the U.S.-Israeli airstrikes on the country and its nuclear facilities in mid-June 2025, which put an end to possible negotiations until now.
ببین الان در مرحله هستیم که بعد از 8 ماه پرتلاطم که
Look, we are now at a stage where after 8 turbulent months of going through a war and all the other issues, a dialogue process can begin again. This huge distrust that has arisen during this time, added to previous distrust, is a serious challenge to the negotiations. And we must first overcome this prevailing atmosphere of distrust and then be able to design a framework for a new dialogue that, so to speak, can serve the interests of the Iranian people. Today, some good discussions were held on this issue, and the views of both sides were heard, and it was decided that it could continue. My impression is that if the same perspective continue on the other side, we can reach an agreed-upon framework for these talks in the next meetings. And in relation to the issues that are being raised, both, I don't want to judge now. In my opinion, it was a good start, and it could continue well. It depends on the other side and of course on the decision that will be made in Tehran.
طرف مقابل و البته بستگی به تصمیم گیری هایی در تهران خواهد شد داره.
The President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, spoke with the families of those detained in Zone 7 of Boleita in Caracas during the meeting, in which he was accompanied by Congressman Jorge Arraza and other parliamentarians. Rodriguez listened to the requests of the family members and committed to prioritizing cases involving health problems, as well as to manage the relevant release processes. Rodriguez announced that the second discussion of the amnesty law will take place on Tuesday, February 10th, at which time it will be finally approved. With firmness and sensitivity, he assured that once it is passed, everyone will be released, bringing relief and hope to hundreds of families. In this sense, Jorge Rodriguez met with the families of the detained persons and reaffirmed the Parliament's commitment to trust, justice and national reconciliation. Through his social media accounts, the President of the National Assembly stated that forgiveness does not generate any kind of reservation. In these complex times we are living in, we must be fair, ask for forgiveness and also forgive. Go to Colombia, where meteorological authorities warn of a new cold front advancing from the Caribbean. The National Disaster Management Unit indicated that the intensity of the front could increase in the coming hours,
bringing rain and winds. The Institute of Hydrology, Meteorology and Environmental Studies indicates that the phenomenon will cause flooding and landslides. The coast of Cartagena have begun to receive waves of up to 4 meters high and winds of up to 55 kilometers per hour. And now we go to Cuba as young South Americans conclude their exchange and volunteer work program in Cuba, reaffirming ties of solidarity in the face of external pressures facing the island. The 31st South American Solidarity Brigade concluded in Cuba after successfully completing its cultural exchange program. The closing event highlighted the impact of the voluntary work carried out by the participants in various areas of the local economy. The organizers emphasized the importance of building bridges of friendship to face political challenges and the blockade of North American imperialism against the nation. Meanwhile, in China on Friday, as part of the diplomatic agenda, Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez Parrilla, acting as a special envoy for the Cuban party and government, held a meeting with members of his state mission in this country. The foreign minister reported on the meeting with Cuban diplomatic members to review the various issues of current international affairs, focusing on the new pressures facing the largest of the Antilles. In this context, Rodriguez is currently on a tour of China to review bilateral relationships and support in the face of the energy crisis affecting the island. Also, as part of political consolidation, Cuba reaffirmed its support for the One China principle and its willingness to continue developing bilateral friendship and cooperation ties. To Spain, where Storm Marta arrives as the country continues to deal with the damage caused by the Leonardo weather phenomenon, which affected much of Andalusia. The State Meteorological Agency has issued a warning of heavy rains, wind and cold for this Saturday due to the imminent arrival of the storm, while the authorities are still assessing the damage left by Storm Leonardo, which has already led to the evacuation of some 8,000 people in the Andalusia region, one of the areas most affected by the heavy rains. The Meteorological Agency points out that this is the 13th storm to bring rain to the south of the country since October 2025. In this context, Storm Marta sets off alarms in Portugal due to the risk of new flooding, while the country is already facing the overflowing of the Duero and Tajo rivers due to the passage of Storm Leonardo. Portugal's Civil Protection Agency reports that nearly 900 people have been evacuated from their homes and at least 6 localities remain isolated by the rising waters. The authorities are also maintaining a warning throughout the country in anticipation of the arrival of the weather event. And in other news, the Somali National Intelligence and Security Agency, NISA, announced the elimination of Ahmed Dubab Shidig, alias Adan Dyer, who was responsible for the finances of the Al-Shabaab terrorist group in the Banadir region. The alleged leader was killed during a tactical operation in the lower Shabelle region after intelligence agents located his hiding place and an armed confrontation ensued. Shidig, who had been linked to the organization since 2008, was a key figure in the group's economic structure and was accused of systematic extortion and looting of public property in various areas of the country. In this sense, his death represents a significant advance in the Somali government's security strategy, which seeks to dismantle Al-Shabaab's logistical networks to curb its recent attacks. In other news, Russia emphasized that it is prepared for any scenario that might arise regarding the expiration of the New START strategic arms treaty with the United States. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated that they are willing to discuss the strategic arms treaty with the United States as long as their general position on key issues of bilateral interest is clarified. At the same time, Moscow emphasized that it intends to act responsibly and prudently after analyzing U.S. military policy and the overall strategic situation. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump proposed working on a new agreement on the use of strategic weapons and not extending the New START treaty with Russia.
Welcome back to From the South. The Venezuelan people's support for their president, Nicolás Maduro, and First Lady Cilia Flores, as well as the rejection of the U.S. violation of the nation's sovereignty, came right after the outrageous attack. To tell us more about the response, our correspondent Paola Dragnik with the fourth chapter of her series, The Signal of Victory.
Cientos de drones sobrevolaron Caracas, iluminando el horizonte.
Hundreds of drones flew over Caracas, lighting up the horizon as if in a ritual to heal those skies violated by imperial missiles. This time, they were lights of peace, marking the unmistakable path of Bolivarian loyalty.
Han transcurrido ya varias semanas desde el secuestro.
Several weeks have passed since the kidnapping of Nicolás Maduro and Cilia Flores, and Venezuela is calm. There's no doubt about it.
We are asking the Venezuelan people, according to you, who is the president of Venezuela today?
Nicolás Maduro, of course. He was voted in. There's no other.
No hay más ninguno. Que actualmente hay una situación debido a...
There is no other. Another thing is that there is a special situation due to the outrageous foreign invasion by the gringos. And based on our laws and constitution, our vice president, our comrade, teleSUR Rodriguez, is tasked with the presidency, but only with an interim and provisional status.
Who is the president of Venezuela today?
Nicolás Maduro.
Nicolás Maduro Moro.
Maduro, porque yo voté por él y yo creo en mi presidente.
Maduro because I voted for him and I believe in my president. Look, Mr. Trump, I'm gonna tell you one thing. With all due respect, because you're an elderly person, you shouldn't have done the atrocity you did, because there are other means and issues. If you want oil and diamonds, there's something called diplomacy that comes first. Good afternoon. Bye. Give us back Maduro.
¿Qué busca entonces un imperio cuando secuestra o desaparece a un gobernante?
What then is an empire looking for when it kidnaps or disappears a ruler legitimately elected by his people? One of the answers fly away, as dictator Augusto Pinochet himself said on that fateful September 11, 1973 in Chile.
Confirmó de que Allende está en la moneda. Entonces hay que estar listo para actuar sobre él. Más vale matar la perra, sacar la moneda.
Infundir terror, desarticular toda resistencia. Pero el imperio necesita además...
To instill terror and dismantle all resistance. But the empire also needs a cowardly and treacherous army, one capable of turning its weapons against its own people. In Chile, that army also massacred the people, but in Venezuela it marches alongside them. That is Bolivar's doctrine.
When he was kidnapped, they thought the people would surrender and take refuge in their homes. But the opposite happened. The people have taken to the streets to continue fighting.
Da lo mismo la lluvia, el calor.
Rain or shine, it doesn't matter. Being in the streets was vital, and Diosdado Cabello knows it very well.
Aquí, en el año...
Here, in 2002, as vice president of the nation, he quickly took command of the country in the face of Hugo Chávez's kidnapping. The rule of law had to prevail, while the people remained in the streets.
Acting president of Venezuela? Yes, I swear.
Como hoy.
Just like today, teleSUR Rodriguez did as acting president.
Let's not be confused. We are the ones governing here. And yes, of course we are talking with the captors. And yes, of course we are selling oil. And we will sell it because it is our oil.
No es tan difícil.
It is not that difficult to understand despite the narrative chaos that they have strategically tried to impose.
Long live our people. Long live our rebel homeland.
Venezuela se enfrentan dos
In
proyectos.
Venezuela, two totally opposing projects are facing off. Either the return to a Yankee protectorate that steals the oil and destroys the national and popular culture, or a sovereign and independent nation that manages its own resources and organizes itself into communes and all neighborhoods.
Nicolás is here with his people. He's in every heart, in every place, in every task, in every community council, and in every commune. That's why we say to him from Venezuela that we will continue working. Nicolás, communes are nothing.
No es un arrebato de populismo.
This is not a burst of populism. It is a long-standing political construction as old as the history of Venezuela itself, because sovereignty is a fundamental desire of this country.
This has not fallen apart because we have values, all the values that Commander Chavez installed in us. Values of love, friendship, and thinking about others. There are so many things. I started with the missions, and today I'm someone because of my Commander Chavez. I have so much to thank both Chavez and my commander today, Nicolás Maduro, for. And today I defend this with everything I have, even with my nail.
La muerte de Hugo Chávez fue quizás
The death of Hugo Chávez was perhaps the hardest blow to date, and there, in the midst of that immense pain, listen to what this young man was already saying more than a decade ago.
We have been preparing for 14 years for what is to come, because the president told us that we have to be vigilant in case they want to come after our oil.
y vinieron por
And
él.
they came for it in the most brutal way.
Venezuela es víctima de estos ataques por razón de sus riquezas naturales.
Venezuela is the victim of these attacks because of its natural resources. Oil, energy, strategic resources, and our country's geopolitical position have historically been factors of greed and external pressure. When force is used to control resources, impose governments, or redesign states, we are faced with a logic that harks back to the worst practices of colonialism and neocolonialism.
Y es que a pesar del bloqueo y el asedio, Venezuela
Despite the blockade and siege, Venezuela achieved an economic recovery that unleashed the imperial wrath. There is no doubt that the socialist project promoted by Hugo Chavez has continued.
Porque si hay alguien que tenía la visión clara,
Because if there is anyone who had a clear vision of the people as a category, as a social category, as a cultural category, as an anthropological category, as a political category, it's Nicolás.
por eso el pueblo hoy le escribe cartas. Ahí
That is why the people today write letters to him in Plaza Bolívar in Caracas with a political clarity that, after so much, is simply breathtaking.
They have not been able to defeat us through hunger, sanctions, blockades, media warfare, dirty wars, cognitive wars. They have used all the recipes of the CIA and the Pentagon manuals. They have not been able to defeat the Bolivarian Revolution, and now the Bolivarian Revolution is growing even more. They have not been able to and will not be able to break the Bolivarian Revolution. Long live the homeland.
lo han intentado todo. El primer golpe mediático de la
They
historia.
have tried everything. The first media coup in history was against Hugo Chavez. On that occasion,
Quiso ser el presidente.
none other than the head of the business community tried to be president. He wasn't the only one. There were paid protests, failed assassination attempts, forced migration, currency hijacking, and the broken record of fraud that repeats itself and no one believes anymore. How can we forget the histrionic street swearing in of Juan Guaidó, now repudiated by all, or the decadent heroine in white, always on the verge of a nervous breakdown?
Nervios de acero.
With nerves of steel, the Venezuelan people move forward.
Aquí está un pueblo y el presidente es Nicolás Maduro. Y ni María Corina ni Edmundo González.
Here's our people with President Nicolás Maduro, and neither Maria Corina nor Edmundo González will come to Venezuela. And if they do, people themselves will kick them out.
Y es que Nicolás Maduro sigue
Nicolás Maduro is still present because he embodies a project that, as with Hugo Chavez, simply transcends him.
Long live our homeland.
La ruta está marcada. Las 7
The path is already set. The 7 transformations of the Homeland Plan, the popular councils, the communal government.
Delcy Rodríguez lidera un equipo como presidenta encargada de ese proyecto socialista que
As acting president, Delcy Rodríguez leads a team to carry out a socialist project that her own father longed for, sacrificing his life in the dungeons of the Fourth Republic that tortured him to his physical death. Presa opens the door to her apartment with pride. She built it with her own hands in this housing complex that is indeed named Jorge Rodríguez's father.
Nunca en mi casa de muchacha agarré un bloque, un cemento, una arena, porque eso era para hombres.
When I was a girl, I never worked with blocks or cement or sand in my house. That was a man's work, not a woman's. But here my comrades and I have learned and worked hard to have today our own apartments.
Esa es la revolución bolivariana.
That's the Bolivarian revolution. That's the people's power. That every Venezuelan today is grateful for in those letters to Bolívar, Chávez, or Maduro.
Nuestra presidenta encargada, Delcy Rodríguez.
And to our acting president, Delcy Rodríguez, we offer our support as women, as patriotic women, as she said in her speech, with your head held high, with your dignity. We will defend him even if we had to go to Washington.
Porque en ese juramento, como en los anteriores, no solo.
Because in that oath, as in the previous ones, it was not only Delcy Rodríguez who took the oath, the sovereign people of Venezuela also did.
Poverty eradication and rural revitalization have transformed the lives of community. Rural families are improving their incomes, jobs are being created, and minority cultures are being preserved. Our correspondent Bruno Falchi brings us this report from Rongyang, one of the regions that suffer most from this scourge.
In the village of Zaidang, in Rongyang, southwest China, a mountainous and difficult to access region, poverty eradication and rural revitalization programs have transformed the lives of its inhabitants. Infrastructure has been modernized, jobs have been created, and incomes have increased. Lu Bingley, a community leader, explains how the policies of the Chinese Communist Party have improved the lives of the population and strengthened the community cohesion and culture.
During the
poverty alleviation period, the government has improved local infrastructure, fire suppression, drinking water, electricity, and roads has all been modernized. Before there were only dirt roads, now there are paved roads, water, and electricity. There are small shops and modernized access roads. The infrastructure has been completed to support the fight against poverty. More attention has also been paid to ethnic culture. Every year, the government organizes ethnic cultural activities. For example, the Chun Chao. Before it became famous, our village was little known, but after the festival's rise in popularity, our village also became well known.
Rural revitalization has improved the economy and strengthened the cultural identity of Dong and Miao minorities. The government promotes activities and festivals to attract tourists, generate jobs, and help preserve traditions. These programs demonstrate how economic development and cultural preservation can go hand in hand, strengthening social cohesion and local pride. The Great Dong chant, with nearly 2,500 years of history, continues to thrive in the community. Guizhou province, where Rongyang County is located, received over $100 billion in government investment in less than a decade. In Sambaidong village, a group of women organized themselves to keep their culture alive, taking advantage of the influx of tourists to improve access. Yan is one of them, and she told us that according to local tradition, food satisfied hunger and music gladdens the heart.
真正性呢，就是我们的老百姓的收入得到提高了。
After rural revitalization, our people's incomes have increased. Once our income improved, we think about the spiritual realm, about happiness, about well-being, and thus we have the energy to continue transmitting our culture and our spirit. Before, our lives weren't so good, and we were busy working and earning money. There wasn't much time to preserve our culture. But now, thanks to rural revitalization and the increase in our incomes, we can dedicate more attention to keeping our cultural traditions alive.
Rongjiang has become an international example of how a strong state intervening in the economy can drive structural and lasting change. With China lifting 100 million people out of extreme poverty and achieving its eradication by 2020. Its program has become a model for the entire global south. Bruno Falsi, Rongjiang, China, for teleSUR.
Hello, join us as we go live to Venezuela with the first national meeting of the PSCV Secretariat for Parliamentary Affairs. Let's listen. And he said to us, the greatest strength is unity, and that you need to be unified with the best team that history has ever had. That is the team that is leading the Bolivarian Revolution. Delcy Rodriguez, Jorge Rodriguez, Diosdado Cabello, and all the highest command of the Bolivarian forces. Héctor Padrino. We went through a situation, very complex situation,